Introducing the world's newest, silliest, and hamburger-eatingest clown, Ronald McDonald. Now, where is that clown? Oh, Ronald! Hey, Ronald!
Here I am, kid. Hey.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Success Lab. Today, we're going to explore the most iconic fast food restaurant, McDonald's. Perhaps each of you has tried a simple cheeseburger or a Big Mac at least once. However, in the history of the corporation, everything turned out to be not so simple. If you want to know the biggest scam in the history of food chains, watch till the end. Before we get into the video, make sure to check out the link in the description for our best recommendation on how to make money online. And now, let's get straight into the video. The history of the creation of the McDonald's company is quite famous all over the world, starting in the California city of San Bernardino on April 15, 1955, with the opening of the first establishment called McDonald's, until it became the largest chain of fast food restaurants. The creation of McDonald's owes to the McDonald brothers, Richard and Maurice. They are also known as Dick and Mac. However, for some reason, they are just mentioned in passing in the history of the brand. The reason for opening their business was the fact that their father, who had once worked for 42 years, was kicked out of the G.P. Crafts shoe factory, explaining that he was too old. This insult to his dismissal prompted Dick and Mac to travel first to older brother Maurice, and then Richard, westward in order to shape their own future. Hope was inspired by the growing film industry, where the brothers initially worked as decorators in Hollywood. Thanks to this, Dick and Mac were able to raise funds to start their own business, so they decided to buy their own cinema, which they did in 1930. However, by 1937, this business had not borne fruit, so the brothers decided to shift the focus from entertainment to public catering. Leaving the idea of their own stands for the era of the Great Depression, the brothers decided to move on, opening the first small restaurant for motorists in San Bernardino, California. Even then, the now well-known yellow letter M appeared on the roof of a new restaurant. The first McDonald's was located at the corner of 14th and Northeast Streets, just off Route 66, and sold barbecues. Growing rapidly, sales exceeded $200,000 per year. After World War II, competition for motorists in San Bernardino was growing, and the brothers discovered an amazing fact in their establishment. 80% of their sales came from hamburgers. At that time, fast food establishments began to appear in many states of the United States, such as the popular White Castle chain at that time. Hamburgers were considered a specialty of such establishments. The owners paid a lot of attention to optimization. After doing some research, they left only 8 items on the menu, like cheeseburgers, hamburgers, French fries, crispy chips, and pies, as well as milkshakes, coffee, and of course, Coca-Cola, among which the most popular were French fries, hamburgers, and Coca-Cola. In addition, in order to save money, it was decided to reduce the number of workers in both the kitchen and waiters, which made it possible to optimize the self-service system. Metal dishes were also replaced with paper ones. All this together allowed to reduce the prices for such popular hamburgers. On average, about 300 people were served per day, which brought McDonald's $200,000 per year. The changing economic situation in the country prompted the brothers to come up with a new business concept, which was based on fast service at low prices. Looking at the cars arriving, the brothers decided to use the idea of Ford assembly line, pushing the business into the stream. Former decorators formatted the building into an octagonal structure with large windows through which visitors could watch the cooking process for themselves. This format was a discovery for many, which attracted new customers to McDonald's. This is how the first drive-in restaurant in the history of McDonald's was opened in 1948. 2 years later, McDonald's managed to double their income. Fun fact, by 1958, McDonald's had even published the first instruction manual, which detailed the procedure for preparing food and the rules for communicating with customers on 75 pages. This book has more than 700 pages, so the restaurant workers themselves call it the McDonald's Bible. The pivotal moment in the history of the creation of McDonald's came with the appearance and the lives of the brothers of Ray Kroc. By the way, by the early 1950s, the McDonald brothers had doubled their profits and opened several franchises in California and Arizona. A milkshake mixer seller named Ray Kroc visited San Bernardino in 1954 after the brothers placed their large order and was shocked by the increased popularity of the establishment he supplied his mixers to. He was surprised by both the small roadside restaurant with paper dishes and the prices on the menu, which were lower than in other similar fast food places. Ray Kroc, thus leaving his mixers, signed up for the exclusive agents of the brothers in franchising. So Kroc saw an opportunity during his failure with mixers, and in 1955, he founded McDonald's System, Inc., later named McDonald's Corporation, and opened his first McDonald's in Des Plaines, Illinois. After this success, the Golden Arches were seen in other states of the USA. The owners of fast food restaurants paid $950 for the license and gave 1.9% of the revenue of each restaurant. The McDonald brothers received 0.5% of this money, the rest to Ray Kroc. At the end of 1956, the turnover of 17 restaurants of the company amounted to $1.2 million. After 4 years, the chain consisted of 228 restaurants with a total turnover of $38 million. And after another 5 years, the McDonald's Corporation had more than 10,000 restaurants in its assets. By 1958, McDonald's had sold its 100 millionth hamburger. In 1961, Kroc purchased the company from the McDonald brothers for $2.7 million, offering in some sense a scam to the brothers. Kroc was forced to apply for a loan in order to receive the required amount. The brothers also asked for 0.5% royalties on future proceeds, but such provision was concluded with a handshake, with no legal documents. Receiving refusals to obtain a loan, Kroc found a way out of the situation by registering a company for renting and buying sites for opening McDonald's restaurants called Franchise State. This idea had success, since Kroc remained the owner of the sites on which McDonald's restaurants appeared. The owners of the establishments paid the rent. Another condition of the brothers was a provision not to include a restaurant in San Bernardino in the deal. However, here Kroc decided to bypass the brothers by opening his own establishment in close proximity to the first McDonald's. Several years later, the brothers not only were forced to close their first restaurant, but have never received their interest on the monthly proceeds. Today, the brothers could earn $100 million US. Despite disagreements with the founders, it was Ray Kroc who made the significant contribution to the expansion of the company. In the 60s, the brand opened 731 restaurants, the number of which grew further and further. In 1967, McDonald's could already be visited in Canada and Puerto Rico, and a little later institutions were opened in Latin America, Asia, and Africa. McDonald's entered the European market in 1971. Ray Kroc was implementing his new projects. Firstly, a technology was developed to replicate the same method of serving, so that the American hamburger does not differ in taste in other restaurants of the brand. In addition, initially at McDonald's, it was forbidden to work for women in order to avoid sexual claims. However, with a subsequent rise in feminist sentiment, Ray Kroc was forced to accept women as well. For employees, a strict uniform was invented in order to avoid sexual attraction. Another strategy was to attract families with children who could leave more money at McDonald's than teenagers. So the recognizable symbol was born, the clown Ronald McDonald. Fun fact, in Japan, he is better known under the name Donald McDonald because it is difficult for the Japanese to pronounce the letter R. In 1968, Jim Delegati became the author of the famous Big Mac, which increased the company's turnover by 12%. Now, the Big Mac Index is used to determine the real ratio of world currencies to the dollar. After Kroc left the post of head, the history of the company continued with Frederick Turner. Turner began his career at McDonald's as a waiter. Under his leadership, the company's standards were refined. The decision of the restaurants has also been changed. Turner replaced the colored tiles with bricks and the golden arches with man-skirt coverings, which increased the area of the restaurant. Also in 1975, Turner introduced the Mac Auto, where the drivers placed the order and received food without leaving the car, which allowed customers to be served in as little as 50 seconds. Since 1979, the company also introduced Happy Meal sets of food for children, including a toy.
Your kids will love McDonald's Happy Meal. It's food and fun in a box. It's a hamburger or cheeseburger, regular-sized fries, regular-sized soft drink, and a McDonald's and cookie sampler. It all comes in a Happy Meal box with games, puzzles, jokes, and a prize.
A prize?
Thanks to Turner, the McDonald's brand has appeared in more than 100 countries around the world. After the death of Ray Kroc in 1984 at the age of 82, the company is kept afloat today by building a structure created under Kroc. Today, the uniform assortment is being approved at the headquarters. However, due to the peculiarities of the region, the menu may differ. So, for example, in Muslim countries of the world, there are no burgers with pork, and in India, with beef. In Germany and Spain, you can find beer on the menu, and in Italy, you can find pizza. McDonald's supports local producers and only brings sauces from the United States. McDonald's has broken many records in both the rate of expansion, the number of employees, and the number of visitors. For example, in Moscow, on the day of the opening of the first restaurant on Pushkinskaya Square in 1990, it was visited by about 30,000 people.
All the time.
I smile to anybody and they say, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?" I wonder, what has happened? Why do you smile? They think that I'm laughing at them.
The restaurant is also involved in many legal proceedings and social campaigns. For example, as the health movement and anxiety about the nation's overweight began to gain popularity in America, McDonald's introduced low-calorie product lines. The corporation has launched a global marketing campaign encouraging Americans to diet and exercise with the participation of celebrities. Today, McDonald's is considered to be one of the 10 most expensive brands in the world, and it constitutes 7,000 restaurants around the world, thanks to franchise schemes, where the income stems from royalty. The European restaurants show the largest share of McDonald's revenues, about 40%. The original McDonald's, by the way, was demolished in the 1970s. It was actually replaced with the San Bernardino Opera House. But in 1998, the regional fast food chain, La Pollo Chicken, opened its headquarters there. This company even has a small unofficial museum with McDonald's stuff inside the building. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more videos just like this. Leave a comment for whose story you want to hear next.